So this is KCPT, all caps, the number 4, @LL caps, and then be excited with an exclamation point. Are we all good with that now?
Is that,
nope, I'll wait. Huh?
Is that a real excited exclamation point or
it's
a mocking?
No, it's real exciting.
Mocking with excited.
Everything I do is real exciting. I don't know why you even asked. Why you even asked? Thumbs up-ish? Yes, I will in just a few minutes. But first I got to kick off a meeting. And then I'll do it. I know. It works. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Yay! If you do not know this already, you are about to find out that I am the most excited person to ever ask you your name and what you do. Because that's really all I do at these meetups, is I say who I am sometimes, and then I ask who you are. We're going to start over here, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think. You're going to take 10 seconds and say who you are and what you do with WordPress. A lot of you, your answers today are probably going to be nothing, and that's totally fine too. So I'll give you a minute to think about it. I'll come back to you. A couple of things that I always do wrong during this particular section is that when I do know people's names, I say their names, which ruins all of the fun for them of giving me their names. So I will try not to do that, but I can't promise. We're going to get like right back there where I know a huge number of people. I'm going to be like, Terry, tell us who you are, and then I'm going to ruin all of it. So I do have a couple of announcements. One, there is some coffee in the back, and there are cups on the way, and I'm told there's something else coming, and I can't remember what it is, but I'm sure it's going to be a delightful surprise when it gets here. But the other two, what?
Puppies?
No puppies. No puppies coming today. So I do have two fairly large-scale announcements. One is that we have been confirmed. Can you say confirmed? Our WordCamp 2014 has been officially allowed. So yay! We've been talking about it for a couple of months. It will be in this space, so that's really exciting. And pretty sure we're still sticking with June 6th through the 8th. So in the evening, it will be a couple of 101 sessions, probably a Tech 101 session, and then like a how to use your interface kind of 101 session. And then a full day on that Saturday, and then a Sunday morning that goes along with it. There will be a party Saturday night. So for the people who get really excited about parties, we probably won't see them on Sunday, but they're totally going to miss out. There is a website coming. There's nothing on it, so I won't give you the URL right now. But we do still need volunteers, which totally could be any of you. You get comp tickets if you come and you're a volunteer, so that's delightful. It's only 20 bucks, so it's not like it's a lot that you're saving, but 20 bucks is a tank of gas, sort of, depending on how far you're driving, right, Hermanson? And also, we have actually secured most of the funds that we need, so we're going to be doing a little bit of fundraising. If you guys know anybody who's interested in giving away raffle items or who just generally wants to give us money so that we can do far more cooler things in our WordCamp, definitely send them my way. Send them to anyone that I point out along our introduction path that I say, also a WordCamp planner. You can send them to those people as well. Good? Woohoo! The second big announcement that I have is actually about something called Code Day, which I am also helping to organize. I don't know if any of you have children or know anybody with children who are trying to learn how to code. I know that you do. But there is an event coming up February 15th at the Sprint Accelerator. The tickets for that until February 9th are $10. And it's, yeah, right? And I will be there with a team of mentors to help a number of high school students learn how to build games on iPads and iPhones and a couple of computer-based games. It is going to be the most brutal 24 hours of my life. Yes.
What if we're not a kid but we want to code?
That is a very good question, and it is one that I keep getting asked. Technically, anybody up to the age of 25 is allowed to attend. Right? I will make everybody sign waivers, liability waivers, and if you are over the age of 18 but under 25, I'm going to keep my eye on you. That's the end of that. But the URL for it is kansascity.codeday.org. And if you get there and it doesn't have my face on it, you're in the wrong one.
Kansas City what?
KansasCity.codeday.org. Early bird until February 9th. It's going to be fantastic. I'm very, very excited. We have about 10 students registered, and we've been live for about 48 hours. So I think we're going to have a really great turnout. I'm excited about that.
And it's 24 hours straight?
24 hours straight. It starts at noon on the 15th, goes till noon on the 16th, and they're going to be with me, so they're totally safe. 15th of February. Yep. Cool. Hello. All right, so now that I've given you guys like 45 seconds to get used to the idea that you're going to introduce yourself, would you rather I start over here?
I'm getting better. I start over there at the back.
All right. Well, it goes like this. My name is Josepha, and I actually am the organizer of this WordPress meetup. And for a long time, I did a lot of content creation and site management with WordPress, but now I actually do things with Google Analytics, so a little bit far off. But that is my WordPress background.
Okay, my WordPress background is a movie, I guess. And I just started. I have a couple of WordPress.com and WordPress.org sites that I've done in the last few months. But I took several classes in it, and I just wanted to expand and try to get going more. Maybe some e-commerce stuff in the future. And I'll see my wife, the Aggie, trying to brought her along for my support.
Support is good. Support is good. And I'm sorry, what's your name?
Dennis.
Dennis. And you are here for moral support? Do you want to introduce yourself anyway?
I'm Cheryl, and I'm here for moral support, but I'm also here for learning.
See how I ruined that? I was like, you're here for moral support. I took away half of her stuff set.
Hey, I'm Jim. I don't do this for a living, but I just got a new small business client today. So maybe I will be doing it.
Yeah. You, sir?
I'm Dwight Wheaton Worley. This is my first exposure to WordPress.
Is this your first meetup? Because you don't look familiar to me. Yay! I'm so excited.
I do.
I'm Laura Wheaton Worley.
I know that person.
And I do marketing and communications. I'm primarily the content and the programming or project management.
Good.
Debbie Burdick. I do websites on a different platform. Jan's trying to convert me to
All right, go, Jan.
WordPress, so that's the reason why I'm here.
Gotcha. I appreciate that.
Jan Lancer Davis, and I design websites. My target audience is authors.
Good audience. It's a good audience.
Hey everybody, I'm Tim Anderson, and last Friday my Joomla website for my business got taken over by the Indonesian security tester.
Oh.
So I decided to rebuild.
WordPress is way better than Joomla
There
anyway.
you go.
It's okay.
I can't follow that.
You could try, but you can't.
My name is Shane. I'm just a WordPress enthusiast. I've been on this platform forever, so I just thought I'd come to the meetups and start seeing what it's all about.
And you RSVP'd and then un-RSVP'd, so I did not
Yeah.
expect to see you. But hello and welcome.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm Trisha Johnson, and I just created my first WordPress site over the summer, and it's for Kansas City parents looking for schools. And so I did it using a YouTube video, so I'm excited to actually see a person and hopefully ask questions.
And you and I should talk afterwards.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
I'm Fred Gibbs. New to WordPress. Been trying to learn a little bit. We got stuck.
As we all
This is
do.
my first meetup. I came so I can get unstuck.
Just quickly, where are you stuck?
I'm not exactly sure.
Gotcha.
Everybody gets stuck there too.
Yes. Yeah. That makes
I've got some stuff built. It's more content and then trying to, there's no organization of thought and putting it on.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha.
My name is Greg Schwartz. I'm retired. I am just a manager, and but I do have a WordPress site on my own domain. And what little I've done is adequate. Thanks to was kind of in the neighborhood for this evening, and so I kind of.
Well, I am glad we could lure you in since you were in the neighborhood for the evening.
I'm Andrew. I don't do anything currently with WordPress, but I learned about it this evening.
Yay! Newbies everywhere. I love it.
Donna McCullough. I'm a graphic designer, and I previously used Dreamweaver. I'm trying to transition into WordPress, and I'm kind of having some difficulties.
Fair enough.
So I'm new to the group as well.
Cool. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
My name is William Dale. I'm new to the group.
Welcome. New to WordPress as well, I take it?
Yes.
Cool. Good.
Sheila Meyer, I'm here from Wallsport. For my WordPress.
Good reasons, both. You're not new.
What, me?
Yeah, you know.
My name is Rick Nielsen. I am the creator of the webtrainer.com. I have about 16 years experience in full-time web design. I do WordPress web design, and I do web hosting. Mostly what I do now is I do a lot of WordPress and do lead captures, sales funnels with WordPress and membership sites.
I'm told to tell you you're not allowed to heckle tonight.
Who said that?
I technically told myself to tell you that.
Oh. And I'm a wannabe rock star. Let's not forget that.
I like it.
Okay, I'll take that.
My name is Mark Howell. I'm a manufacturer's rep. I want to learn WordPress. I have some sites I want to do. The only thing I know about WordPress is I know Rick Nielsen, the web trainer, so that means I know nothing.
You do not get to heckle either.
But I'm in the mood.
Silent heckling with flashcards.
I'm Terry S. Turner, TST Business Strategies, and I'm a content coach, and I specialize in WordPress websites only, helping organize and put together your content, figure out where it belongs.
It's a good thing. Organization is one of the hardest parts. So.
And I also do SEO tagging, and both with meta tags, meta descriptions, and
good.
My name is Amber. I sell cupcakes. I know absolutely nothing about WordPress. But that sounds good to you.
Yes, we're going to learn today.
No.
I'm Oscar Dulles, and I am hopefully born again WordPresser. WordPresser.
Woohoo!
I dabbled in it a while ago, and so Sepa influenced me to pick it up again. So
There are like 10 people in this room that I, at one point or another, dragged to come to one of these meetups. And so I think that it's going to happen.
I'm Regina Schroyer. I work as an old-fashioned typographic production artist, but my company is sometimes allows me to work on the WordPress site, so I learned a little bit about it.
Cool. Good reason to be here.
I'm Elizabeth DeJohn. I'm executive director of 2 nonprofit bike shops in Kansas City, and we use WordPress on our website. We have a bike for everybody, and if you all want a bike with me, go to our website, WordPressKC.org.
Yeah, I saw that when you RSVP'd. I was like, that sounds like a really fun thing. You, Miss Ma'am, in the back.
My name is Carissa. I'm a website art designer. Moved to Kansas City for fiber.
That is true. That's not even a joke.
And I specialize in direct sales companies, entrepreneurs, and specialize in WordPress sites.
She used to drive down here from Nebraska for these meetups, which is crazy. But she's also helping us to organize WordCamp this year. So we're glad to have you.
Tom, I'm here just for support.
Yay, I love moral supporters. Oh, hello.
Hey, yeah, hi, I'm Dave Douglas. I work with an agency here in town, kind of digital marketing agency, and I more so than anything would like to learn more about WordPress. I've installed like 1 or 2 WordPress sites in the past. Haven't done a whole heck of a lot with them, and I'd like to, learn how to, do a little bit more with them and take a little further. So
Perfect. Sounds good.
Diane Salucci. I'm new to Kansas City. I'm fairly new here. I've only come to 1 meeting, just learning about how to use it.
Welcome twice to both the city and again to the meetup.
I'm Green, and I'm a marketer, and I help small and medium-sized businesses with their digital solutions, but with a marketing focus. And I've used WordPress a lot. I use it mainly in my business, and I was in the area, and then I would stop by, and then I realized I forgot my phone. Don't know where I live, which
Well, we will hope you can make it long enough to learn some stuff. I haven't seen you in like a year. That's amazing. Scott.
My name is Scott Reardon. I monkey around in one part or another of WordPress every day.
We're totally coming back to you guys. This is the most boring thing ever. I'm sorry. Sorry, I was talking to the people who are watching on live stream because they can't see or hear any of this, and I was apologizing for it. So I was listening to you, but also apologizing while I was at it.
Brandon Johnson. I'm kind of a WordPress junkie in my own right. I buy too many things and too many plugins. I'm not very good at making them all work properly.
Can you ever really have too many themes or too many plugins? Everyone who's shaking your head, you just keep your mouth shut.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I have one WordPress website and want to make events. That's one.
Good.
I'm Sean Fowler, who's a developer for small business sites. Who's WordPress for 2 or 3 years.
Cool. 3 years. Good job.
My name is Sherilyn, WC, and basically my boss wants me to redo our website for WordPress.
You have a big task ahead of you.
My name is Matt Hermanson. We operate the only independent continuing education provider that provides multi-state, multi-trade approved education to trades across every Midwest. And part of our marketing is to do little kind of down and dirty, crappy sites targeted to just an individual area. But HostGator is discontinuing support for the base controller, which is what I've used in the past, and so now I need to learn a new format. So I'm here to learn WordPress and start building on WordPress instead.
It won't be crappy.
Right. It's going to be amazing now.
XPO staff and my people you can see about WordPress. I want to talk to you about WordPress.
Fellow WordCamp organizer, if you have questions or want to give us money, you can talk to Camilla. You, ma'am? In the purple. Yeah.
I'm Teresa, and I started WordPress a blog in November, and basically here to support and things like that.
Cool. Good. Jim, I skipped you for a reason. You get to do all the talking in a minute.
Okay, I'm Kelly, and I just started mine as well, and I'm struggling with just the easy things like coming up with a name. So I'm like the very basics.
Yeah, that's a reasonable thing to be stuck on. It's not.
I'm Ed, just an enthusiast who enjoys WordPress and take around with it for a couple of years now. I was here to learn more.
Yeah.
I'm Peg. I'm a recovering HTML coder.
Okay.
You're supposed to say hi, Peg.
Hi, Peg. Clearly, I've never been to those meetings, but I do get the reference.
Tom Eagle, I help not-for-profit organizations, one of them being like the Meals on Wheels and Leaf Summit.
Gotcha. Long-time member. Long-time member.
My name is David Long. I work at NMDY and do software testing. And we just here to learn the basics. So see what it's all about.
My name is Travis Flans. I own a small company, and I use WordPress every day.
And also a co-organizer for WordCamp. If you want to give us money or talk about things about WordCamp, this is the guy. Alrighty. So, what?
You were talking to the live streamers, but you did not give me the web address, so I can share it on chat.
Oh.
That means you're online, correct?
I am online. I am online, but I have to kick off a meeting first. I'm getting there. I'm totally getting there. So, I will give everybody the address now. And Jim, if you can come up and do your thing.
That's it?
Yeah.
Do my thing.
Do your thing. Put us all to shame.
I'm Jim Grant in my own camera. I'm worried about where I'm standing. So my company is Simply Creative Media, and we do WordPress. We help small businesses get found, to get social, get beautiful on the web. So is our deal. Been doing it about 5 years now, actually in about 30 days. So I'm kind of excited about that, our 5th anniversary. So one of my passions is beginners, and as a matter of fact, for WordCamp, I'm kind of wrangling the beginner track. So if you don't get enough tonight, there's more. I usually teach like a 3-hour beginners class, so we're going to try and pack in the basics, but please ask anything you want. I already had the first person that walked up to me tonight ask me like the hardest question you could imagine. I'm like, are you sure these are beginners? So, because we are going to cover a lot of real basics, kind of have a little WordPress love fest and some facts and figures and that kind of thing. And then we'll talk about WordPress.org and .com. So how many have installed a WordPress site? It sounded like a lot. And how many have not? Oh, good, good, okay. So, because we're going to start from the ground floor. So let me find my deal here. All right, what is WordPress?
I'm working on
The address.
Continue.
All right, I can hold. No. So, WordPress, where did I get this? I think I got it out of like some education site. A free and open source blogging tool. Well, that can be contended because a lot of people just build websites with WordPress. And content management system. Everybody know what a content management system is? Mm-hmm. So that gives you the ability to manage your own content and edit it like you would with a word processor. Runs on PHP and MySQL. I know we have some people in here that know what that is, but it's the languages and the database that WordPress runs on. Some interesting facts I started digging up last night. My charts were like, I don't know, 6 months since I taught the last beginner's class, and I was stunned to find out that we've gone from 60 million WordPress installs to almost 75 million. Probably 75 million this morning. That was last night. It actually makes up, I don't know if that's the right standard, maybe I've got about another, but it's actually about 21% of the websites running on the internet right now are running on WordPress. So it's becoming quite popular. It's been around a while. 2003, it was a fork. Who knows what a fork is in development language? So originally there was a thing called B2 Cafe Log, which was a multi-site blogging platform, and a couple of guys, Matt Mullenweg and Mike Little, they got together and took that code and then started building WordPress back in 2003. So it's not really that new. There it is. Over 21% of all websites run on WordPress. Who knows what a plugin is? I'm going to crowdsource a little of this, so who wants to speak up?
It's a piece of software that extends the functionality of WordPress.
Yeah, so it's one of the really cool things about WordPress is, for me, fortunately, I've got coders. I was a coder. I don't want to tell you how long I've been a coder, but I know what COBOL is. So, but the beautiful thing about WordPress is you get these cool things called plugins, and just about every function you can think of is available in a plugin. You can add them onto WordPress and add functionality. More than 19,000 of them available. And I think, I'm trying to remember what I read last night, about 8,000 of those or so are actually in the WordPress repository. And then the rest are available commercially by people. Actually, we have a member that comes fairly regularly who creates plugins.
We've been in the middle of Kansas.
Yeah, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So, WordPress, so I'm glad everybody's hot on WordPress because it's one of the most requested skills these days. I think it's number 3, actually, in IT skills getting asked for these days, or, well, I would say web development skills is WordPress. So, very hot commodity. Well, hundreds of WordPress volunteer developers. We'll get to that and what volunteer developers and how WordPress gets created. Translated into over 70 languages. That's a big deal. When I worked at IBM, we couldn't even release software unless we already had it ready for, I think it was 38 languages at the time. So, so it has great worldwide support. And in fact, I've been working on a site right now that's an international site that we can run a translator on, translate it into multiple languages for the end users very easily with a plugin. So, WordPress.com. So I heard some folks mention WordPress.com, and we'll talk about what that is and the differences. It runs the multi-site version of WordPress and has 32 million WordPress sites running on one install of WordPress. I didn't misstate that, did I? Is anybody going to correct me? Yeah, so and a staggering statistic that you can run WordPress as a single website, or you can run it in multi-site mode, which allows you to run multiple sites on one install of the WordPress code. And if you go to WordPress.com and set up your website, you're running on one great big install of WordPress with 32 million other people. Pretty cool. And I read this on the internet last night. WordPress will save the world.
That's got to be true.
So yeah, it's got to be true. It was on the internet.
It's on the internet. It's totally true.
All right. So why WordPress? I don't think you'll find too many people in here that tell you why not. So it's kind of a love fest here. So it's supple. So, well, what does that mean? It's not just a blog. I mentioned that before. You know, WordPress has got that connotation that it's a blogging platform, and everybody used to sign up for WordPress because they wanted a blog. Well, a lot of the sites that we build now as WordPress development companies are just traditional websites, and they may not have a blog at all. Although, in my opinion, if they're worth their salt, they're telling you to blog or post news items. So call them that if you don't like the term blog, because it's very important now. You know, to have great, fresh content coming up on your website all the time to attract users in the search engines and so forth. With plugins, you can cover e-commerce is the other one that's in that list that's kind of big. So it's ubiquitous. IBM uses it, CNN, ESPN, the NFL, all have sites built on WordPress, major sites. And some of them, ironically, are even hosted on WordPress.com, which surprised me. Content management. So we talked about that. It gives the end users the ability, or the client after the website's done, the ability to edit their own website. So they don't have to call up, you know, their web company or their designer every 5 minutes and say, yeah, can you change the phone number on the contact page for me? Well, you can go in and do it yourself now with a content management system like WordPress. Social. So it is has natural social media extensions that are kind of built into WordPress. Just by being a blog platform, the ability to comment on people's posts or pages on a WordPress site, it's social because of that. And then that can be extended to sharing on Facebook, sharing on Twitter, and so forth with plugins. Wow.
Sorry.
Was that you?
It was.
And we'll integrate with virtually any social media platform, although they're popping up left and right. But I guarantee you somebody out there is writing a plugin for it to be able to make your site on WordPress interact with the latest social media platform. And the big one, and you're sitting right here with a whole bunch of people in the room that are really passionate about WordPress, is the community and the support. If you're stuck on WordPress, there are people a keystroke away, a YouTube video away, a WordPress Meetup away that are more than anxious and glad to help you out and get unstuck, learn something new about the platform. And they're really kind of passionate about it. So, WordPress.com and WordPress.org. Who knew there was a difference? Who didn't? Yeah. So these guys that got together in 2003 and started building WordPress. They built it on what's called an open source code base or code platform. So it's built by volunteers who program, contribute their time, build the WordPress code, and it's free. You can go to WordPress.org and download a copy of WordPress. And we'll get to where you put it later after you download it. If you don't want to do that, you can go to WordPress.com. It is a company. A lot of people, I think, kind of on the misconception that WordPress.com, is WordPress. It runs on WordPress, and they use WordPress. They actually probably, they have their own kind of modified version of WordPress even. And as I mentioned before, it's a multi-site version. So they're running millions of sites on one install of WordPress. And it's the freemium model. So I got a chart next to kind of talk about that. But it's free to sign up and get a WordPress blog over at WordPress.com. But they got lots of stuff they'll sell you to add capability to that WordPress install. So that's the difference. WordPress.com. I'm going to change sides now. So these are, and please ask questions. So if we get into this, because I think we learn the best from the questions that people have in the audience rather than me spouting off about what I've got on these charts. But WordPress.com, the free version, the company automatic that you can go and get a WordPress site at. One of the advantages, we'll start out with a plus, it's great hosting, it's fast, it's already installed for you, you sign up, it's secure, it's actually insanely secure, it's a very secure platform. They back it up for you, they upgrade it, it's always at the latest version, you don't have to worry about any of that. That's all included. If you install your own, go and we're going to tell you what to do with it later, but you go to WordPress.org and download WordPress and you want to know what to do with it next. You have to go get your own hosting. You have to take care of either through your hosting or plugins, backing up your site, and making sure that you got a copy of it to be, in case you get hacked. WordPress.com. Well, these are some general statements, but they don't really allow you to add plugins. They have some things that are plugins that you can add to your site, but you don't get access to those 19,000 plugins that are out there that let you do anything from, I don't know, share pictures on Snapchat to install your own shopping cart, something you can't do on WordPress.com. So that's a limitation. Limits the function that's available to that. You have to abide by WordPress.com's terms of services. Who knows that on their free website at WordPress.com, they can run ads on your website? Did you know that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've never had it happen. I've still got one out there, but I've never actually seen it happen. They also own the copyright to your data and everything that's on the site. So if you're at WordPress.com, you've got your blog there, you're not the only one that has copyright to it. Read their terms of service, not the one that you click through and scroll really fast through and then click the I agree. You are in control if you get your own WordPress site and host it yourself. Limited themes. So I heard we've got theme junkies here. And, I think, yeah, I did put the number here. On WordPress.com, there's about 280 themes to choose from. I don't know, how many themes? How many themes are out there?
At least a million.
At least a million.
Easily.
It's humongous. And then you can write your own. So we do a lot of custom themes for clients from scratch. And only about 80 of these themes are actually free. So, you know, the nickel and dime you and upgrade it to if you want to get a fancier theme on WordPress.com. I didn't actually know this, but I never thought about it, I guess. When you're on WordPress.com, you can't remove WordPress.com at the bottom of the site. You know, it's at WordPress.com. So something to think about if you're doing a business website, you're kind of looking for the easy, free way to do it on WordPress. No shopping carts. I think I mentioned that. WordPress.org, it's yours. Many choices for e-commerce. We won't even go there. So any questions about this? Or why you'd want to do one or the other? Man, you guys are easy or tough. I'm not sure which. All right. So you're convinced to host and build your own WordPress site. Because that was a compelling argument, right?
We all want to save the world.
Exactly. Yes.
On the previous screen, how often when you do your updates on plugins and things, how often do you recommend that be done if you use one of those?
Yeah, so if you're doing your own site,
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So it's a good question, and there's a million answers. So plugins can literally be updated daily. And you'll see in the dashboard, it'll say, there's an update available for this plugin.
Okay.
With clients, we do it about once a month. And unless it's something urgent, because they can be for security reasons and things like that they get updated. But generally, it's just enhancements or changes to the plugin. So it's generally not problematic. I'm trying not to go too deep here because it's kind of a beginner's thing. But plugins sometimes will break or interact badly with other plugins, so you got to watch for that. And then the other thing that gets upgraded is the WordPress version. And that, well, number one, we don't touch till we're backed up because you can't roll back the version. So if you update, if you update your WordPress site's version from 3.7 to 3.8, which just happened recently, and it breaks, you're stuck kind of solving why it broke and figuring it out or reinstalling a backup.
Which is why you back up everything all the time.
Yes, I'm a fanatic about that. I was in the business continuity and disaster recovery unit at IBM, and I've seen people as large as Coca-Cola not have stuff backed up. It's just...
As of 3.7, it actually automatically updates the core unless you tell it not to.
Yeah.
So make sure you have a very solid backup plugin in place and always running because...
I got emails this week on version 3.8, which is out. We've automatically updated.
Yes.
So the point releases, 8.1, 3.8.1, they just do without asking you now. So you can turn it off, but that's definitely an advanced topic. All right, so I hope we didn't get too advanced for the newbies and clouding your heads yet.
Just backup.
I have a beginner's class and an intermediate class, and half the intermediate class is teaching backup plugins.
Yeah, are you going to cover backups, or what are backup solutions available?
Let's push that out a little, but please ask it again, because I will go, we'll go as deep as you want. There's plenty of WordPress brains in here to crowdsource any answer that we need. So what will you need if you're a newbie starting out doing a WordPress site on your own? A computer, internet access, and a web browser. You don't even have to own the computer. You can go to the library if you really want to. So all you need is the web browser, essentially, to get to your hosting, which I think, okay, so what do we do? Register a domain name. Who doesn't own a domain name in this room? I better start there. Wow. Is it true? Oh, wait. Is there one, two? There are people, in fact, I'm not sure I didn't own domain names before I had a website. But it's just the thing these days. You want to own a domain name, right? So get yourself a domain name, register it. I just made a list because it's almost a religious topic when you get into registrars and hosting companies. I have names myself at GoDaddy, Namecheap, and Bluehost, which is I use for some hosting. So one recommendation I would make: try and buy them all in the same place, because you'll start getting domain names here and there, and then you're pointing them here and there, and you kind of lose track of things, and you lose track of whether they've been renewed. And go with somebody that runs deals all the time. Don't answer those little postcards you get in the mail that say, your domain is in danger of expiring. It's only $50 a year to renew it with us for 18 years. Send us a check. So,
Actually, it's hard to get it to expire.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about domain registering and hosting and email and all of that stuff. So you don't have to register your domain name and host your website in the same place. I get that question a lot. Somebody's like, well, I want to get hosting at HostGators, but I already bought my domain name at GoDaddy last year. That's okay. You don't have to move your domain name. You can just point it. It's called DNS, Domain Name Services. It's like the phone book on the internet. Tells where sites are hosted. Looks up when you type in google.com. It goes out to the DNS server and says, where is google.com? And it goes and finds it on your hosting. So I get that question a lot. They don't have to be in the same place. They can be in different places. Web hosting. Again, a very religious topic. So I think, although recently I've had some doubts in the iPage space,
iPage and FatCow are the same.
They are probably the cheapest.
I think iPage and FatCow are the same company. Bluehost, HostGator, HostMonster,
and one that's not on here.
And one that's not on there are all the same company.
Are all owned by the same company.
They're all owned by Bluehost now.
Yeah.
Well, it's called
Endurance
International. And there's a lot of consolidation going on in the hosting arena right now. I'm just lining up. I have, for about 5 years, done most of my hosting on Bluehost. I'm still very happy, although they've had a couple of outages that were a little disconcerting. But coming from a mainframe and data center IT background, I get upset when things are offline for a microsecond. So, so I'm rather sensitive. So there are kind of two classes of hosting now going on with WordPress too. You're seeing a lot of advertising about WordPress optimized hosting or WordPress managed hosting. They're not the same thing, so don't confuse those. So you'll hear a lot now, Google will rank your site better if it's fast, or if it loads fast. And that's true, it contributes to the Google ranking. And it's important because people lose interest really quick these days, and you want your site to load and catch their attention. So that would be an advantage if you have traffic. If you have low traffic and you're starting out, you're probably not going to gain a big advantage by going to WordPress. And please, anyone argue with me if you want to. By moving to more expensive WordPress optimized hosting, then you're going to get here. I have a saying about building your websites: build it and they won't come. So until you really have to worry about traffic, a lot of traffic or a high volume website, you may have to worry about going.
So the question
yes.
is, so these WordPress optimized hosting,
Right.
is one of their one of their supposed draws is that it helps with SEO.
Well, that's one of their kind of bullet points for selling is speed and SEO. Optimized, primarily what they're referring to, is that the servers are optimized to run WordPress and not other things like Joomla or static HTML sites and so forth.
And I know that groups like WP Engine and Media Temple upgrade the entire, all of the WordPress instances all at once for you. They just send you an announcement. They say, hey, back up. We are uploading all the new stuff tonight.
And so that's where they kind of are, I would call them more of a hybrid too, because it started out they were optimized hosting companies that just ran WordPress really well and really fast. Now they're all doing what I call managed WordPress hosting, which is now they're adding on updates, updating plugins for you, all those kind of things. So for $25 a month and up in this space, as opposed to $3.95 a month and up in the traditional web hosting, you're getting some of those added benefits of them updating plugins, updating WordPress, making it run faster. And that's not a bad thing. And the only one of note, and I don't think the person who's in the know here tonight, Flywheel is a local WordPress optimized hosting company. So I found that kind of interesting.
Are you using Flywheel at all? No? Yep, the only one is not here.
Yeah, so, which is where I heard about it at one of our meetings. So WordPress Engine is probably the most famous. Media Temple I know is very good also. So. Any questions about hosting, domain names?
I have a comment about domain names. I know that we had at least one person who said they're having trouble figuring out what to name things. I would always check to see what your domain name looks like as all one uncapitalized word. For instance, I have this horrible website that has nothing to do with me, but I see it from time to time called Ski and Sea. But when you look at the URL, it just says Skin Sea. So always check and make sure to see what all of your stuff looks like before you say, yes, I'm bumming that for years.
Yeah, there's a non-for-profit, Be Straw Free, that can translate the best raw free. So.
Watch out. Watch out for those things.
Yeah, so actually on that topic, because I get this question a lot too, and I'm surprised it hadn't kind of come up talking about domain names. Domain names and SEO. Okay, now I'm calling the crowdsourcing the audience here for opinions on that lately, because the SEO landscape has changed drastically in the last 6 months. So anybody care to comment on whether you should have your keywords in your domain name?
Yeah.
I think you should.
Yes.
I think
yes.
My personal opinion is, and SEO is something that I feel I excel at very well, is to register your business name and then make sub-pages with your keywords. In your URL, that is.
Yeah, obviously if you've got a business, you probably want the URL to be your business name. You're not going to buy, you know,
depending on some of the industries.
ISellWebsites.com or whatever.
Especially lawyers, they want to just plug lawyer into everything, into their URLs more than any other industry, it seems.
And the difficulty with that is that there are now so many domain names that have been taken that it's really hard sometimes to get the keywords you need into it in a reasonable fashion. You can get your keywords into anything if you're willing to take 100,000 units in a URL. There's no units, characters, but there's no point to it.
Right. Yeah, they're hard to type in.
Yeah.
Is no one concerned about domain name length any longer?
Yes.
Well,
We are concerned about it.
for branding, yes. For internet purposes, no.
Yeah.
That's my take anyway.
Yeah, it's just, you know, how easy is it to give to somebody and have them type in? If it's, you know, 100 characters long, it's just not practical. So.
Well, but then again, you're hoping people are going to hit you organically. They're not going to type your URL anyway. They just click on.
Well, if your on-site SEO is good, then it doesn't really matter where you are. So you just got to get some solid link building in there, and some off-site.
Which is kind of why I
market
asked
strategy as well.
Yeah.
Well, and on top of it, if you want to really have consistent, solid branding, then you want to have consistent names across all media platforms. So if you've got WordPress Basics out of Kansas City at the KC and whatever this is building, and that's your URL, that's not going to work on Twitter.
Well, I bought that last night.
So you got to really think of where you think you're going to be, because, you know, nowadays you want to try and circumvent SEO by building outside the media system.
Yeah, so my answer, and I wanted a little help too, because then I'm not totally responsible for what I say. But that it's becoming less important, you know, to have the keywords in there, and much more important that the content, as Travis was saying, has, you know, the keywords. So, yeah.
Are you going to mention EdgeRank?
EdgeRank? Well, should we get into Facebook? No, I don't think so. I don't go there.
Is that EdgeRank Google, or is it PageRank?
PageRank.
Oh, PageRank. Yeah, they haven't updated PageRank for what, 8, 9 months or something.
PageRank not in like years.
Maybe a year. Yeah. So yeah, they just haven't updated it.
From a marketing standpoint, I know of a jiu-jitsu school in Indianapolis that has nearly 30 different websites, all geared towards specific markets. So for example, we've got one that's iowaelectrical.org, because the state website is iowaelectrical.gov. And so we get a lot of traffic that they're looking for the state, but they get us. And it's the same body. You know, we want to suck the money out of their wallet and take our class instead of somebody else. You know, so electricalnebraska.org is the closest thing I can find to electrical.nebraska.gov. And so now when we're getting ready to do that, some plumbing classes coming up, and we'll do something totally geared towards an Iowa plumber. And so we're doing sites with the idea, then that becomes part of marketing, which goes on the mailer. So we're doing like 2 or 3 media, trying to get people to go back and forth to get it,
Yeah, and
get it to work.
And we've probably gotten ourselves solidly into more of a marketing bent instead of beginner WordPress. So why don't we get back to this? And this may be a coffee and cupcake conversation, and I'm sure there are plenty of people in the room who'd love to have it.
You just get a ton of questions. So
Yes. You saw some people was looking for domain names. Suggestion was made to me, and I'll pass it on. My favorite tip is if you don't have your own name as registered as a domain name, that you should consider that from a safety standpoint or a privacy standpoint, maybe because somebody else out there who may be a nefarious character, perhaps, could take your name and use it. So if even if you don't use it for your business name or for marketing purposes, if you're looking for a name and you can't think of anything at the time, consider just putting your own name and using that to learn with, to build on.
Getting harder and harder to get, but yeah.
I was surprised I was able to get mine on .com, hidden on .org.
Yeah. All right. I don't know what's next. Let me see. Go. Whoops. It only takes 5 minutes to install WordPress. Sometimes. Who's done it in 5 minutes or less? Yeah.
Less than a minute.
Does that include getting your hosting and everything?
It's not signing up.
It's possible. All right, so I may have to step off camera and drive a little because I think we're going to get a lot deeper into actually doing WordPress stuff, which is great because I think
we can swing the camera at you, but it's just going to be back in your head.
Yeah, it's no fun.
Okay, we'll just keep it up here then.
All right, so hopefully. Uh-oh. Okay. Hopefully it works. Everything went black.
Yeah.
All right, so let me make sure I'm still logged in. Good. All right. So there are essentially 2 ways to install WordPress. There's I'm sure more, but 2 we're going to cover. One is I just went out to, this is Bluehost. Who recognizes this and knows what it is? Call it out. It's the cPanel. This is Bluehost, and but it'll look the same everywhere. That's what I like about the cPanel. Who likes other interfaces?
I don't.
Just for note, because once you get your hosting account, you log in and you see your cPanel, there's all kinds of stuff you can do in here. Your mail. So usually when you get a hosting account, email comes with it. Unlike maybe if you're over on somebody like GoDaddy, although they now have accounts like this too, although their interface is very hard to navigate. But it used to be, they kind of sold your email separately and all that. Well, now pretty much everywhere you go and pay $5 a month, they include email, unlimited email accounts. So this is where you would go in and set them up. Your file manager, so you can get out there and look. And for those that aren't, techies or coders, your website is just code that's on a server that looks just like files on your computer at home in subdirectories or folders. So you can go in here and explore your code once you get to the intermediate class, of course. Logs and statistics, security, we'll kind of breeze through those.
That would mean security.
Don't get me started there next. All right. Databases, there's a topic. So, because I know we have some people who have been building websites for a while in here, and you just write some HTML or do it in Dreamweaver and upload their files, and they got a website. WordPress has got this thing out there called a database. Who doesn't know what a database is or wants me to give a definition? So, yeah, really? Got a pretty savvy crowd here. So a database is where all the information on your website in WordPress, the content, usernames, there's all kinds of data about your website stored there. The code, PHP, is the language that WordPress is written in, builds the web pages that get displayed on your website on the fly by using the theme, the style sheets, and the data out of the database to create a web page. So you can get in here and manage, set up a database. We'll get back to that when we talk about the 5-minute install. Because, believe it or not, I had this not too long ago from a web designer that called me, because I do a lot of subcontracting work for other people that say they do websites, and had there was an issue with the website. Well, I backed up all the files, and we've got them. We can install it. I said, do you have the database? It's a WordPress site. What database?
That's the important part.
The one where all your content is. So when we get to backups and talking about that, you have to back up the database and the files for the website. Software services, we'll come right back. Advanced, we don't need to go there. So we're going to come into the software services and click on simple scripts. A lot of times on the cPanel, WordPress will be right there in that section, and you can just click on the WordPress icon. These are scripts, which are software scripts that install things to your hosting account. And we're going to find WordPress. Here it is.
And depending on the host, it may be different than simple scripts too. But pretty much every host that runs cPanel uses some sort of installer software provider.
Yeah, and actually, if you have this is my reseller account, so it's where I host clients, but if you have a regular Bluehost account, they actually use a Mojo. It's a branded installer now, which I can't stand, but because now one of the reasons I went with Bluehost originally was because they didn't try to sell you anything along the way. You got your hosting, you set up your website, and off you went. You didn't get sidetracked, much like people on GoDaddy, and I don't want to get in trouble with GoDaddy, sorry guys. But I've had people check out from GoDaddy and they're like, how come my hosting was $275? And it's like, yeah, well they sold you a ton of stuff on the way out because you didn't know what it was, you bought it all. So we're going to install WordPress. So don't, okay, it's okay to click install here. All right, so I'm going to go over here and just show you. This is greensalesllc.com, which when I started my own company, that's who I really am. There's nothing there, no website. All right. Nothing behind the curtain. All right, so don't just go down to the bottom and click. I have read the terms. Remember that I said you got to read the terms. I've actually read the GPL-2. It's pretty entertaining. There are options here, and you want to take some of them because one of the no-nos about WordPress is if you set it up by default, it's going to set up the user, the primary administrator, as admin, and then a password. Well, so let's talk about hacking. So what's the first thing they're probably going to try? Admin, and then some password. So you can, during the install process, actually change that. You come right in here. We can debate this too, whether using your name is the best idea either, because it's going to be potentially on the blog, and they can immediately identify the username of somebody. But as long as you're using a secure password, you shouldn't be in too much trouble.
265 characters.
That's the new most common.
No, we're going to delete the site when I'm done.
It's supposed to be 9 digits, so you take it up to 9.
Well, that's
6, 7, 8, 9. And then put a date on it for special characters.
Yeah, I like that. So, if you're doing this, go to the advanced option. Make sure you don't that you change admin. Put in a nice secure password. I'm not going to worry about it right now because if I type the only one I use, then you'll be able to entirely steal my life. Automatically create a new database. We're not going to take. They do try and sell you a couple of things, or they're not really selling you for something, but getting you to try something out. We're not going to try these things out. Why not? Why not? And we're going to say
plugins.
Install. There are a couple plugins. One is make sure your site mobile ready. We'll talk a little bit about that too, because I think that's a really important topic these days. There it goes. We're installing WordPress and the database.
How do I know if
I hope. There it goes. All right. Yes,
How
sir.
do I know if I've said yes inadvertently to either one of those questions?
Well,
it doesn't matter.
Oh, I unchecked marked them. Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, he's saying if he accidentally has already checked them and already
And
installed
does install them, they can be removed after the fact.
And it's not the end of the world either.
Yeah.
They're not going to get it.
No, I just, it's just I like to start out clean and with because I want to put my own stuff in there. But yeah, they're just plugins. They're just plugins, so they can actually be removed from the dashboard. We'll get to the dashboard. Okay.
So this is installing on your local computer.
No, we just installed this up at Bluehost on my URL, greensalesllc.com, which before I started tonight had some test site on it I erased. And so it's a place I use to experiment with stuff or teach classes. So it's going to come back and tell you the URL, the login. So to get to your site, it's your URL /wp-admin. We'll leave that at that. My username and password. So I can now go over here and refresh. There it is. We've got a WordPress site. Was anybody timing me?
Oh, shoot.
All right. So I'm sure if I didn't stop on Java, it was probably less than 5 minutes. Probably done in a minute or two. Yeah.
So you have had the green sales, the website all composed.
I had the domain name, yes, already in my account at Bluehost. So we skipped some of those steps we talked about earlier. That if I had like my hosting here at Bluehost and my domain name Green Sales LLC over at GoDaddy, I would have had to gone to GoDaddy and logged into the settings for my URL and pointed the DNS names, is what they are, the domain name services, name servers, to Bluehost. So it would know where to look for our WordPress install. Does that make sense? Okay. Because that's kind of a, I couldn't find it last night, but I have a little diagram sometimes I show that explains all that, because it's kind of a nebulous concept. All right, so we've got a website. If we type /wp-admin on the end, it will take us to the WordPress login screen. And nobody look at my password. Gosh, I think I forgot it. No. All right. And we're going to log in. Now we're in the dashboard of WordPress.
Who has seen this area already? Who has not seen this area already?
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I got a little worried when we started because it sounded like a lot of people had seen this, so I wanted to make sure we got here so we could actually maybe get a little deeper than we intended to originally. All right, so let's back up. I'll ask because I want somebody to participate. What's the other way to install WordPress? Okay, well, we've essentially done that actually, because this code base that got installed is the WordPress.org code. But what we can do.
Well, okay, the longer way is on your host, create your database, then download WordPress files, change the sample config to config, open that up, put your database info in there, have your host point your domain to your web space, and
How
then
many of you have
can,
lost already?
Okay.
then you can do all
I'm like really impressed. So because you could actually quote the steps. So this is the WordPress Codex. Very important place. Codex.wordpress.org. WordPress.org, the people that you can go to and download WordPress. And this is the famous easy 5-minute WordPress installation. The funny thing in here, oh, this is on Windows. What am I looking at here? Well, anyway, somewhere down here after you read these steps, it says, if you really don't know what a lot of this is, then you need to read the longer directions. So there's really not a 5-minute install unless you've done it before and you practice it, and you got a stopwatch and you can get it done. I can do that, but actually most of my sites now, I have kind of a standard configuration and plugins I like, and I have a backup that I just restore to get started with, and then I update anything that needs to be updated. So I circumvent all this, but you're correct. So we're going to come here to WordPress.org. We're going to download the big zip file of WordPress. We're going to upload it to our host and unzip it. And then we're going to run a little script. We're going to create a database because we don't have one of those. When we click the magic script button on Bluehost, it created a database for us. So we go in that database section in the cPanel, create a database. Obviously, we're not going to do all this. Number one, because I'd probably trip up and screw it up and look bad. But it does take a while to unzip the files and create the database and so forth. And then you're going to run a little script that is kind of the end part of what Bluehost did for us, that unzips all that, installs it, and connects the database to the WordPress code. So that's the 5-minute install is kind of a fallacy unless you're really well practiced. It is, however, probably the most secure way to install WordPress. I'm pretty comfortable that, like at Bluehost, going through that install that we did, that it doesn't have anything going on in it, except they do install a couple of plugins potentially that are going to cause problems. But things like using admin and all those things, if you're doing the manual process, it's a clean, pristine WordPress install that would not have any potential security flaws introduced by the scripts that your hosting company runs to install WordPress. So it's kind of like bloatware on a computer when you get it, or a tablet. Or saw an article this week said most 16-gig tablets come with about 4 gig available now. They do the same thing sometimes on hosting companies. So if you're a purist, the long way is the way to do it. Where to work from, like I do, a backup of something I know that it meets my standards, and I install it now. All right. Any questions about the installs?
Is everyone going to go home and do this tonight?
Actually, yes.
Yes.
I actually have one I need to start tonight.
Yes. So how are we on time?
We're right at 8:13.
Which means?
Which means we've probably got another 5 or 10 to talk, and then some questions.
Oh, sweet. Okay. All right. So, because the main thing I wanted to get to from here was a little vocabulary. We're in the dashboard as the administrator of your WordPress site. I don't know why these are off the edge. Let's see. How's that? All right. Okay.
How can I help you?
Let's talk about user roles. We'll skip around a little bit. Because as an admin, you see everything in the dashboard that's available to you as the administrator. One of the nice things about WordPress, it's already got an infrastructure that includes user roles. Editors, subscribers, they all have different privileges and access. So the nice thing about that is if you've got a client or someone that works for you that maintains the content on your site, you can give them, say, contributor privileges to be able to put an article on there, but they can't actually publish it. The editor has to actually publish the article once they've vetted that it's okay to put up there. It doesn't include goofy pictures of the CEO or anything like that. So, so that's where you would go in and look at the users, and there should be. Everything went well. Yep, just one. And let's see, I did not register, so another. We'll click in here to the profile, and if you include your email address, where is it?
Right there. Down. Oh, they just created one for you.
Wow.
It's the one with the @ symbol.
Yeah, this is sassy.
I was in a networking group this afternoon, and they announced that this thing was going on tonight. If anybody wanted to come, and somebody made kind of a snide comment, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh.
So I can take it. Well, what I'm trying to prove here, which may or may not happen, is that if you are registered, Google Fiber down?
We are having some information.
There we go. So, I am registered at Gravatar. Who's registered at Gravatar? Okay, so some folks. So by my email address, it automatically pulls in my little user icon, which is kind of nice.
How do you spell Gravatar?
Gravatar. Gravatar.
It's kind of going.
Yeah, I don't.
Register a single email address, and you can use it all across any WordPress site, whether it's a forum or whether you are owning it and running it and hosting it.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Kind of to simplify your login life everywhere.
And some things are kind of overtaking that. I have kind of succumbed to Open Graph and Facebook because it's so ubiquitous.
Mm-hmm.
There's great plugins you can get for WordPress. Log in with Facebook, or even in the comments at the bottom, if you've got a Facebook plugin, it will recognize people coming to your site, and if they comment, it'll show their little icon there if they register as subscribers. So those things make it more convenient, and most people are, have an identity there. So Jetpack. Start at the top here. So Jetpack, so we just went out and created our own site. We got our own hosting because we didn't want to mess with those WordPress.com guys. Not if you want to use Jetpack. The Jetpack plugins come from the WordPress.com folks, automatic. And if you want to use these, you have to register over at WordPress.com also. I don't really. Does anybody use any of the Jetpack items regularly?
I recommend Jetpack for all new WordPress users because there are tons of things in there that are very easy to set up and get going quickly. But for more advanced users, all of these same options are offered in other methods that are probably a little more professional.
Yeah.
Because all of this runs through WordPress. So, like for example, the publicize that will automatically send your content to social networks, that's great, but it says WordPress.com tagged right there in it.
Yeah.
So it's great for new users because everything's in one spot. It's very easy to set up. But when you're getting a higher level, more advanced, more professional, there are other methods. That's my take on it.
And I don't like the inconvenience of having to have an account over there at WordPress.com that logs in and says I can use these. And so it just...
And you really can't do that for clients, can you? Because it has to associate with a WordPress.com account, and you don't necessarily want to have your client. You have to get a WordPress.com account in order to use them.
I mean, it kind of depends. It kind of depends too. I don't know. Most of your clients have to give you some sort of login information and personal login information for other sites anyway, so they most of the time won't have a problem with that.
Great.
That's my take.
I don't want to muddy the water or anything like that. But
Please do.
There's a lot of hosts, especially like HostGator, that do not like Jetpack being on there because it's an extremely large piece of log on PHP and SQL.
Good point.
So they don't. If you, I mean,
that was my other point.
Inherently,
there you go.
WordPress is very hard on PHP processes and its database. This is a terrible login resource. The first thing they tell you is get that on.
Yeah.
Because it's doing so many things that it's chunky. I've had lots of difficulty with this. It does a lot of cool things, but if you're in a shared environment, there's lots of restrictions. If you're on a dedicated box or something like that.
One of the biggies I get a lot of newbies using is like this, the statistics and.
Those separate.
But yeah, and I'm like, go get Google Analytics. If you've got a site and don't have Google Analytics, don't tell me.
If you are using Jetpack, disable the parts of it you're not using too. That'll speed it up.
And this week there was a cool new plugin that came out for Google Analytics in the dashboard. Yeah. I just saw it
WPMU?
like 2 days. It might have been.
$19.
Yeah, WPMU had a lot.
Free ones, but
I don't know. I have a subscription, so maybe that's where I saw it. But it brings all your Google Analytics charts right into the dashboard, which is really handy for clients, especially because a lot of times I'll be in there 3 months later. Well, you looked at your analytics. Oh yeah, no, we never got it. So you can't fix what you can't measure.
That's right.
Right.
Absolutely.
All right. What's a post? So we'll kind of wind up on this and then do questions, because I think this terminology is real important. What's a post in WordPress? I'm getting that look.
Is it verses?
Verses? No, just it's a little bit of a trick question. So versus pages.
Post is going to be a long page.
Okay.
The page could be a simple web page, content page, not tied to the blogging mechanism.
Is a page a post?
Yes.
There's the rub. So everything's a post on WordPress. Pages, at least in the dashboard where you create them, are typically kind of what you see as your regular website pages. Contact us, about, home.
When I'm explaining that to clients, I always say that your pages show up in your navigation, and this is very simple. The way I'm doing this, your pages show up in your navigation, and your posts show up under your navigation. It's a really simple way to put it. I realize that's not quite right, but it gets it pretty close.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
this might be a little intermediate, but to help in my deeper understanding, could a page be considered like a post that doesn't use the loop?
That doesn't use the loops.
Doesn't use the loop.
A page is more
No, because you could still use
page
the
is
loop.
pretty standard and static, where a post is going to change and you're going to update and it's going to.
The biggest thing that I always tell people the difference is a page will not show up in the RSS feed.
That's an interesting
Post will show up in the RSS feed.
Yeah, okay. Right. So
That's the thing. There are a lot of almost explanations.
yeah, kind of where I was going with that, and it was a trick question because everything's technically a post on WordPress. But one of the beauties of WordPress is or are posts because they're not just blog posts. They could be gallery items. They could be products in a shopping cart, which are a type of a custom post. And if you were here last month, we were at the other end of the spectrum last month doing custom posts and coding and all that and really cool stuff. But it is one of the views. But that helps when you get in the dashboard. Your pages are pretty much your web pages and the things you're going to put in the menu most likely, and then posts are your blog posts, and then some plugins will create custom posts for like gallery is a big one that does that a lot of times, or the slider. You see the website slider with 5 or 6 slides on it. Sometimes those will be posts that you click a category called slider, and then they show up on the slider. So it's a way of using posts to populate things.
And you demonstrate right now.
Posts? Well, sure. So we'll look at all posts, and they give you a handy-dandy one. Hello, world. And you'll notice when you hover over an item, and this is the same for pages pretty much. There's a couple little differences in the editor, but we won't go there tonight. But it'll, edit, quick edit, throw it in the trash, view it. If you just click on it, it'll open the editor. And here's our post. And if we go over to the website, the website.
I think you closed it.
I'm going to correlate that. So there's the Hello World blog post on our front page, because the blog by default's on the front page. I'm sorry?
So that's also a page and a post.
Yes, the blog roll, which are the lists of posts, are on a page. That is true. And if we click on the post itself, we're looking at just that post, the Hello World post. And if we go in here, and edit it, now we're not going to have any media here. So I try to do something cool. There we go. Oh, there. And we'll just update that. And that actually makes it live and publishes it to the website. And there you go. So that's how easy it is to update your content. And that's a post or a blog post. The editor and everything we looked at for pages is almost the same. There's a few differences which we get to in the longer 3-hour basics class, but where you can pick the page template, how it's laid out, and things like that that are options. So let's do questions, because we could go.
Show a page. Show probably make a page.
Yeah. All right. So here we were looking at edit posts. So get a good look at that, because when I flip over, you won't see a lot of difference. So we're going to go down to pages, and just click on pages, and they include a sample page in the default install.
So make a new one.
We can do that. So here's the sample page, but you'll see the editor looks very similar to the post. Right? We can add a new page by clicking Add New, or there's an Add New button at the top, and always contact us. Call me. So what happens when I publish a new page? Any guesses?
Yeah, but how do you find out?
Well, by default, and I will show one more thing tonight. Every page you add gets added. And WordPress used to be that way by default, which was kind of a pain in the neck. Because if you added pages you didn't necessarily want in the menu, they showed up there, and in order to rearrange them or hide pages, you had to add plugins to do that. Well, WordPress now has this really cool feature called menus in the dashboard. So under appearance,
Cleverly designed.
we can change our theme, so that funny orange bubble look we have, we get rid of that. We can add widgets, menus. We can change the header, the header. And the editor is actually, if you want to go in and look at all the PHP code and the style sheets for the website. We don't want to look at that. But if we go to menus, because it was one of my favorite features when it came out, you'll see the menu structure, and we can create main navigation, because sometimes you'll have more than one menu available on a particular theme. Might have sometimes 2 or 3 menus. We'll create that. We will add that. So we can actually, so look at the menu now. It's just got Contact Us and Sample Page. Now we've got Home, Contact Us, and Sample Page. So we'll save the menu. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. It will work. There we go. Home, Contact Us, Sample Page. And I can rearrange them or make them
Hey Jim,
hierarchical.
Hey Jim, how do you add a blog post to your menu?
Oh God. We can do that.
Say no. Say no.
How about a category? Can I add a category?
We can do that. What's the answer? We have a form for that.
Category's easy, but on the blog post
So,
pages, you are.
there we go.
What's a category?
Contact us, sample pages now under there. So it's great, really convenient, drag and drop. Yes, you can. So, well, that's a good question, though, adding a category or question in the back. Or was that a stretch?
So to make your page visible, you have to go under appearance. You can create all the new pages you want, but to make somebody see them, you have to go under appearance and
By default, they will just start showing up across the menu as every time you add a page. Once you, once you turn on and create a menu like I did called Main Navigation, then it's in control. This drag and drop interface.
So show me again how you did that. You went under appearance.
So, just menus under appearance.
And you create a menu.
And then I named it right here and saved it. And then I turned it on right there with that checkbox.
And that stops them just default showing up.
Right. So now, actually if I, remove the home, save it, refresh it, home is gone now. So the nice thing about that is if you got a page maybe you don't want everybody to know about, or you got a test page or something, you don't have to worry about it showing up in the menu all the time.
Can you show how to use the plugins and things?
Oh, plugins are not today. We will have one.
Yeah, I will mention, because I asked if it was okay, so I haven't done one in a while, but I have a 3-hour beginner's class, and if there's enough interest and people contact me about it, I would put one on. Otherwise, we're going to do a 3+ hour, probably or so, beginner's track at WordCamp, if you can wait till then. But if there's enough interest, I'll put on, it's a 3-hour class. We get into how to select plugins, how to select themes, what they do, how to, everything in the dashboard. It's a fire hose, and we cover it extensively. But and then, and I'd be glad to do that. If there's interest, just let me know. I have cards up here somewhere as soon as I find them.
What's the media?
When is?
No, I mean, how do you use that media?
Oh, the media? Is that the?
Yeah, it's on the.
On the editor, the media? Yeah, I started to use it, but I didn't have any media. The media library, so if I'm in the editor, we'll do it in reverse. And I click the add media and I include a picture in my content. The media library is where they are all stored. And why that comes in handy later is if you want to reuse those, they're stored in that media library. One of the first things I ever ran into with clients early on was to get into their website and they have 600 pictures, and there's only actually 6 pictures. There's 100 copies of each one because they keep re-uploading them in the content. So you always go and look in your media library, see if you've already uploaded that picture. Any other questions? Yes.
How do you put like an under construction sign? Because when I created it, it was all black.
Yeah, it is. There are lots of good plugins. I don't know. I use one called Anticipate because I own it. It's from a theme maker called Elegant Themes. It's one of the first theme people I ever bought themes from.
Search maintenance mode, there's several of them to choose from.
Yeah, so just go in, and matter of fact, the last little tip, so when you're adding plugins, you can go in here and search. And what it's searching is the approved WordPress .org list of plugins that they say are okay. And sometimes they disappear. I've had some that I really love just disappear, and they're like, no, there was something wrong with that. But they're in maintenance mode. And I go through a whole thing on how to vet these and decide if they're good and safe and all of that. But yeah, get a plugin.
Are you going to do a session on security?
I do security.
We have lined up for March.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Security maintenance.
Awesome. Any others? All right, I'll be here. Ask me questions, and there's all kinds of WordPress gurus in here. So.
And there are also cupcakes in the back. And I want to say thank you for tuning in. So everybody grab a cupcake and some coffee, a card from Jen, and talk amongst yourselves.
Thumbnail.